Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, and we got another battery bust episode for you. So what the fuck does that mean? Sometimes I rant at you. Sometimes I have friends on me. Well, this episode, we're going to have a long lineup of friends, starting with, hey, Grim, what's good, man?
Hey everyone, things are good. Just here to join in on the battery bust and have a little bit of battery bukkake, I guess.
Yeah. Get some acid on her face. Oh, we were talking before the show. It's kind of nice when the batteries do bust and it's just pitch black out here on the island, and then I can go rest.
I
Nice.
mean, I'd be playing that card more often. Like, I just can't talk to you guys today. Battery's dead.
Adios. Batteries are dead. Well, yeah, I live off the grid. So the normal show has kind of been interrupted for a couple weeks while my batteries may die at any moment. So if the show cuts off, that's what happened. It's not a glitch. It's an intentional fucking thing, I suppose, at this point. Why else record if not to see if the battery busts? I suppose, So Grim, we're just gonna be shooting the shit, and the other thing is we're gonna see how many call-ins we can actually get. Not at one time, but just one after the other. There's that chick online who went through like 1,000 dudes in a day. Did you hear about that?
I hate to say it, I did hear about it, and apparently she
Yeah.
wants to break her record.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to do that but with call-ins, but very similar vibe. By the end, I'm going to feel just as dirty for sure.
Well, I mean, come this community, there's a couple sweaty, greasy nerds, and it looks like there's two of us on screen right now. So
Yes. All right. Well, let's start off by doing like a call back to times of old. We used to do different little mini games before the start of the show, before people complained that we wouldn't start the actual show for 30 minutes because we'd do mini games and hobby stuff and shoot the shit. But we had some fun ones. So everyone who's calling in is going to be picking one of these mini games. People may remember them. I'll list them off, and then me and Grim are going to play one. But 40K, not funny. So share a 40K joke. Rapid fire. That's pick a topic, a random topic, and the other person has to talk about it for 30 seconds. Pictionary, but with words. I don't know what that's called, but instead of doing like hand gestures, you get to say 5 words, and then the other person has to guess what the kind of overword that you want them to guess is. True or false. You ask some true or false questions. See who's better at the yes or the no's. A quote of the day. It's funny. I told the people in the Discord, hey, yeah, if you want to do the call-in, prepare for these things. And then they started adding me the quote of the day. Like, no. Save it for the show. Why are you adding me this right now?
Come join and tell us.
You spoiled it. Now I don't want to hear it on the show because I already read it. But there's also would you rather, marry, fuck, kill, 40K, or if you don't have the balls for that one, would you rather have your legs ground off, or would you rather be possessed by a demon? So basically come up with 2 hypothetical would you rathers. Interactive word story. I like this one if you have a lot of people where you go around the circle. Hello.
My
name
is
Sausage. It's fantastic. You can come up with some really great lore that way. And finally, if you want to tell us about your hobby progress, go for it, sure. And make your own mini game. If you have your own silly little 3-minute short game, you're welcome to come up with one and play with us. But yeah, call-ins all episodes. So me and Grim are going to do a quick little go-around and show you all how it's done, and then we'll get to some call-ins. So I think, what do you want to play, Grim?
You know what? We're gonna go dealer's choice here. Whatever you want to run, and we'll make it happen.
Okay. Well, I'll put you back right in the hot seat, and I'll say rapid fire. So I'm gonna pick a random topic, and the other person has to talk about it for 30 seconds. So the topic I am going to tell you to tell me about is going to be suppression of dissent in the Imperium.
Dissent in the Imperium.
Yeah.
Man. Well, the suppression of dissent in the Imperium, I know absolutely nothing about. So we're going to really try and draw out this 30 seconds. So, with the suppression of dissent in the Imperium, My
Dig
man. I
into your
I got a
inner
whole lot
Kamala
of.
Harris here. Come on.
Pardon me?
Dig deep into your inner Kamala Harris and just really ramble.
Well, I mean, it really just depends on which which aspect I want to be. If I want to be, this organization or this organization.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Well,
I'm
well, I'm
blanking here, man.
I think you failed that rapid fire.
Set the bar real high for everyone else.
Fucking real high. I liked it. I thought it would be a little prep work for me for a later conversation I have to have about that very topic, but you're not the one to help me, I guess.
I guess not. My
Fuck.
apologies.
Okay. Well, we also have some other questions that we wanted to talk about. If you want to call in, have your own kind of main topic, a couple-minute idea you want to share with us. For example, Grim wanted to talk about Old Hammer. I said, what do you mean by that? So maybe give me another little quick 1-minute definition of what do you think Old Hammer is?
I mean, for me, Old Hammer, like I look back to like the prime ages or prime time of playing 40k. Don't get me wrong, I was involved in third edition, very, very like touched the surface on it. But me, when I think of Old Hammer, the first thing that comes to mind is fifth, sixth, seventh edition. Those would have been like the prime years or prime times to have been playing the game. There was a lot of stuff coming through. It would have just been on the cusp of starting Horus Heresy, or at least the tabletop game of it. So there's just so many aspects to Old Hammer or what I call Old Hammer in that sense. There was a whole bunch of crazy fun tournaments going on, and there was just so much diversity amongst the community, or like tabletop representation that you'd see amongst the community, and it was fabulous. Not saying that you don't have that now, but the game is oversimplified.
There was some peak moments there when they really let you customize your own rules or leaned into that a little bit more, from like White Dwarf coming out with custom hero characters, or just like, there's a lot more of that where, it led to more interesting armies as opposed to rolling up to some tables where you just see Primaris Marines and you're like, I can't tell an interceptor from an intercessor from I can't tell them apart. I don't fucking know.
See, and like that's why I have a hard time getting into 10th. I played a fair amount of it. Would I dare touch a Space Marine army? Nah, man. Like even
Nah,
even
man,
8th
not for
edition?
you.
No. Fuck Primaris. And when I started listening to the show, and just hearing, especially yourself, reinforce the fact that someone has as much hate for
I
these. prefer
the word indoctrinate, please.
Oh,
please.
sorry. Yes, sorry. You indoctrinated me with this absolute loathing for these motherfuckers. Don't get me wrong, they look cool. It brings more people into the hobby, but as an older player, I fucking hate them.
So here's my two kind of questions for you on this Old Hammer. How do we know it's not nostalgia that we're feeling? Because, I very much agree with a lot of what you're saying, but how do we know that's not just nostalgia?
Well, I can see it both ways. My personal, like, real life wargaming group, we still play what we call Beer Hammer. We've kind of mashed together a couple different rules from, what do you got? Your 6th edition Bible here. And 7th edition. We've just made something work. And honestly, like, maybe we're still living this lie that it was the greatest time to be playing. And I'm okay with being naive and not looking farther beyond it. But I play a game of 10th. There is some aspects that is very, very cool to have.
Sure.
But it doesn't have the same heart. It's like listening to a digital copy of a song, but then you whip out the vinyl and you play that on the turntable.
Ooh. Yeah. I kind of think about that nostalgia and like, okay, for it to be nostalgia, like, me and you, we are both white dudes with beards, roughly blondish, like same age. Of course we could feel that same nostalgia for a lot of similar things. So I kind of expand that scope of the question. Like, I wonder, like, okay, what about generations before and after us? Did they like 40K, or did we live in like an actual blip of like popularity, and like it was popular before us, had a bunch of lore, like it came out, you know, before we even got into it 20
Mhm.
years ago. It was still around for 20 years. So it has kind of stood the test of time, and it's around after us, you know. And by that I mean like the next generation is already playing it and, you know, is coming up and all that. So, you know, that nostalgic, like it's lasted a couple generations. So maybe it isn't even that.
Um, I want to agree yet disagree at the same time. I actually one of my colleagues when he had first started, he was kind of excited. He was talking to me about a couple things. Yeah, have you ever heard about Warhammer? And I just
The
kind of turned and
classic
like
line.
I just kind of looked at him and I'm like expand on this. So, well, you know, I play this and like oh boy. So he was playing ninth edition at the time. I was like, well, you know what? Like, we'll have you guys over, like him and his buddy. That was like his gaming group. And I said to him, like, you know, you guys come over. We don't know any of the fucking new rule nonsense. How about you guys play, you know, how we play? You know, you guys can either choose to build an army, whatever. You just come roll some dice. And, you know, at the end of it, they're like, there is a lot more to have to know. Like, I mean, when you come up with a fucking stack of books like this, okay, we're ready to play.
Yeah, reinforce that gaming table. There's weight to it in plastic
Well,
and paper.
Well, and don't forget pewter, because at this time, pewter
Computer,
was
goddamn, yeah.
rather predominant throughout it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, at the end of it, Buddy had still said, like, dude, this is probably one of the most fun games I've ever played. Maybe it had something to do with the gaming group, might have had something to do with just the environment, the abundance of models, whatever the fuck it was. But he's come back a fair amount of times, literally just to play our homebrew
Nice,
version.
nice. I
So
love that. Yeah, and maybe that's another thing to consider about like the peak 40K era is like, was that aimed at anyone necessarily? Or like did it come up around something that was popular at the time? Maybe here's a good example. The Walking Dead, great TV show. Somebody definitely took advantage of the zombie craze, and then they took advantage of the vampire craze. And you know, you see these trends, and 40K, it's never really fallen into these trends, except for maybe right now, where we're getting some kind of, you know, shenanigans at play. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that kind of thought?
you know what? I'm gonna wholeheartedly say 40K was never a cool thing. Like
Yeah,
it was definitely an
yeah.
extremely culty kind of thing. You know, I look back to some of the local game stores that I would go to. Um
Yeah, like
Objectively, you know, go ahead.
no, no, sorry, you go ahead. I got excited.
Hand check. Hand check. Um yeah, when I would go to some of the local gaming stores, you know, some of these people that were in there, like some of the stores you walked in and like it was like a hot wall of stink that was coming through. You know, it was not an attractive fucking place for people to go and, you know, get into something like this. But now with all of the video games, the extensive amount of literature that's behind it, you know, then you're talking, you know, Mr. Henry Cavill and his television show, the Secret Level episode. Like there's enough stuff out there that, you know, this is starting to look a little bit more attractive to someone that is like has no concept of what 40K
Yeah.
was prior. So like we're just bringing more and more life into the community.
Yeah, I know it's kind of like fucking gay as shit to say, but it's also fucking kind of cool to say, like, yeah, you hand somebody that third edition codex and you like check out all these skulls and like, dude, I want no part of this. And you're like, bitch. You know, like you kind of want that. Like there is some kind of like gatekeeping kind of like we're into this grim dark outsider thing. And yeah, you know, you kind of lose a little bit of that the more welcoming. Like today, you lose a little bit of that. My prime example usually is the artwork. You know, back in the day, it was very sketchy, very like jagged and like aggressive. And now,
Mhm.
you know, armor styles are smooth and sleek and round.
I mean, up until you step on a Chaos Marine and you get a fucking spiky bit in your foot.
Then you're
Um,
fucked.
yeah, and I've even really started to see that as to how people paint their models too. Like I know personally, I love the grim dark setting. almost all of my models, I always hit it with a wash of null oil, just because it makes any turd really shine.
Yeah.
So it also
Some
gives me
Nuln Oil or some Agrax Earthshade, depending on what you're painting. Either one's a godsend.
exactly. So like I always abuse the living shit out of that, and I like that dirty kind of grim look. But then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where you have that kind of pop funk or that like bubblegum candy looking marines. Like it looks cool.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
is it something that I would have on my own table? Probably not. Or like in my own collection? Probably not. You're damn right if I buy something like that. They're being stripped.
Yeah. Having said just a little bit about the Gatekeeper tour, just like, we're also super thrilled. Like, we also talk to every person we meet obsessively about joining 40K. But like you said, like, there's kind of just like, there's some guidelines, though, if you do want to join. Like, you gotta like skulls, first of all. We got paint some pink armies, but it's gotta be so gaudy that it opens a warp portal and like summons a demon, like it's gotta be just right. Just right. But yeah, okay. Yeah, Old Hammer for sure. I get that similar vibe where it's like there was so much about the universe that we didn't know, but there's still so much that we did know. I feel like they also let us interact with it better, whether through our own stuff or like you were kind of saying, like more army variety, more codexes, supplements, White Dwarf rules for, just stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I have to agree. And like with all the books, like I get it. A lot of people prefer to read. Some people don't even play the hobby and they just love the books. I've actually met a few people like that.
Oh yeah.
Inside this community and out. And I think to myself, like, there's something that you had said, and I'm not sure if it was one of the lore hammers or not, but I don't need to know what Rowboat Gilliman was fucking doing on a goddamn Tuesday. Like, no one needs to know that. Like, let's use our
Guess what?
imagination.
I assume that his gauntlets were heavy with the weight of knowledge or some shit. I assume that. I didn't need to read it. Yes. Cool. Well, okay, that's a great example of the questions. It's the quality, the caliber of the questions the calling guest should bring me. Now we do have one other final thing that the guest should call in with, and that's a closing question, either about the show, something about the Lorehammer community or Discord, about a host, a guest, or otherwise, but just something a little more personal. Do you have anything like that you want to say before we go to our first call-in?
You know what? I think I want to save the time for the guests. Let's get them in here.
Okay. Well, Boba Jack was call in before the show even, so let's get him on first. Yo.
You're muted.
Oh, he's muted. The fool, the damn fool.
Okay, so listen, it's me, your boy, Booby Jack, back at it again with being muted. I already have my big upset about 40K, so I would like to open with something a lot more tame. I would like to pick the best minigame, perfect minigame, best minigame. The interactive word story.
Yes.
I feel like every good party is an improv party. So
yeah.
I will open this interactive word story with a once,
upon,
a
time,
the
galaxy
was
dark,
yet
mysterious,
and
torn
between
between what? I think I'm out. Between what, Bobe Jack?
Between picking cool tanks and shitty tanks. Hello, America. I am here with my 40K issue. The 40K dilemma.
I feel like that game was a lot more fun a couple years ago when chatbot wasn't around, and we sounded like we were dumb and idiotic, and chatbot now can be like, blah, blah, blah. It can.
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, AI made it so that way you say a stupid sentence and it sounds dumb, and you go, "Oh, it's just AI generated." But no, I made that up myself. It came fresh from the source.
Right from the vine. So crisp, so juicy.
So I genuinely I don't know how much you guys know about tanks throughout history. I'm assuming there we go. All right, somebody. But the main issue I have with 40K and when they make tanks for guards specifically is everything they do is British. And like the one time we get like something kind of different, there's this tank called the Ragnarok, and they do it based off of the KV2. Listen, I get that they're British, but Britain literally made 5 good tanks once, and that's it. I'll give you 6. I'll give you 6, and that's it.
Okay.
Then they were done. They cooked.
Are the Kriegsmen their vehicles? I remember doing the episode, and they had a bunch of German-sounding names. Where they
So that's the fun thing. So the Krieg during the Krieg Civil War invented this tank called the Ragnarok, and I read it in the book, and I was like looking it up, and I was like, man, what does it look like? And it's a Russian tank. And I was just like, and then anything else?
Who's in charge here?
Yeah, right. Like that's what I'm saying. But then I was like randomly scrolling through tanks on Lexicanum, and you guys haven't brought up the Colossus of the squat tanks. There's a tank called the Leviathan. Yeah, it's like the what are the little fuckers in Star Wars drive? Those big things that they drive around.
Oh, like
what are they called?
I don't fucking
No. The little fuckers that go.
The Ewoks? Or the Jawas?
No, not Jawas. The Jawas. They drive around the big fucking, and they're like flat, and they got the tracks.
Like we're talking like a 10-story World War I.
Yeah. So the squats it's literally a spot on like representation, and it's just like,
nice.
I guess this leads into a bigger issue where I could just flat out say is they have no. No, I'm not crying. Squats have better tanks. Lubrical TV, trademark. I'm crying because I don't see enough change between everything. Like, listen, it's great that the guard are pretty uniform, that you can have like one guard codex. That's cool and all, but like,
if we can have 10
shouldn't
Space Marine codex, like,
okay, listen, you're right where we shouldn't have 10 Space Marine codexes. However, they would make so much more money if they did that.
Yeah.
And if they just gave me a Krieg codex, that's all I ask.
Yeah.
You can let all the other guards be uniform. No, but like my main issue that I'm trying to bring up here with this epic segue is like it's cool that we have all of the like the variants for all these different tanks and all that stuff, or variants for this and that and this and that. But like, do you guys ever want to see actual change throughout the world? Like, I know it's not canonically accepted, but I mean, we already did it with the Space Marines. Why can't the Guard get a little bit of that boost? I think his power went out.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. He froze up there. Honestly, I'm gonna have to say I don't like the concept of change. You know, that was in my eyes, that was the beauty about what 40K was. Like, it was a very stagnant way of looking at things. Now, yes, you can argue the fact that, you know, they had these tanks prior. Like, why are we still only using this exact model chassis? Like, basically, we take the fucking Rhino chassis, and that runs across all of our fucking all of the Space Marine tanks. You know, you got your Predator. I'm blanking here.
Even they call them battle tanks. They call them Sacroline battle tanks, and it's the exact same vehicle.
Yeah. So it is kind of one of those weird...
crashed.
Yeah, I think he crashed. But yeah, it is kind of one of those weird things. You know, especially because I'm very picky and I don't really like a whole lot of the new stuff. When I see that,
it'd be cool if they went down. Like, I'm not even saying changing up. I'm saying changing down, even just something different. You know, like something that looks better and less British.
Well, you know what? Here's a nice thing about this is you could literally just buy a model tank. If you really want German tanks, whatever tanks that you want, you can just get one of the scale size tanks and yank off some of the parts, stuff your own things in, and call it, whatever the heck you want to call it.
No,
and
that's
just put
fair.
the same stat line.
That's fair.
The rule of cool. I have a whole bunch of like just different model sets. I've never mashed 40k and some of the allies and Axis tanks, but not saying that you can't.
That's fair. I don't know. I guess my main issue is that they're not American enough. Because as we know, there's only one country that makes good tanks. It's America.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
what about that leopard, man? That leopard's
the
pretty cool.
Are we allowed to derail since he's not here, or should we?
I will
Is it
allow
still
it.
recording?
I don't know. It looks like we're still live. All right. Well, this is the unscripted revolution here.
Can we pull more people in, or do you not have that power?
I don't think I have access to that.
Oh, I was gonna say let's just pull everyone in. Might as well.
Mark, God damn
Mark, get back here!
I can't pull anybody in. Okay. Well, you know what? We're running the show now, anyways. We're the captain now.
Hello, welcome to the Grimjack Lorehammer crossover episode. I let your name be at the front. That was pretty cool, right? Yeah. I'm reading my lexicanum and translating it into French. So let's see what we figure out, every pony. Why aren't these tanks being run on jet engines? As we know, jet engines are the superior tank engine.
Well, I mean, I like to think of them as nuclear reactors regardless. First of all, that tank blows up. Now you have a real fucking problem. We know that that's not the case, but why are we not using more nuclear power?
You're right. Why aren't we downgrading? See, this is what I've been saying for years. Jax, if only we could, but you're not the one and only. I'm the real Jax. Also, the French version of the Shadow Sword on Lexicanum is classed as super fat tank.
Is that fat with a PH or
no fat with a FAT? Because PH that's fatigue, which is fatty gay, which means that you're tired in French because the French are gay.
Lorehammer does not condone these statements.
Name one. No.
Yeah, probably best.
be a good episode.
Well, tell me some more about your issues with these tanks.
Yeah.
We're
listen. We're buying time, and as some people buy time, we buy time with the. It's really hard to read these because they're all in French. The chimeras. Listen, I get that you call them chimeras because they're chimeras. However, why are they British? The over body tracks, damned inefficient and non-effective. They're cringe.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. That is a huge undersight on their end. Like, why are you leaving exposed tracks? You're just looking for issues. Actually, it's funny that we're talking about the tanks thing. Earlier today, I had come across it was an image, and it's like you can clearly tell someone's never been around an actual firearm, and it was two heavy bolters over top of each other, pointing one direction. Yet the top one was back, and you could see the ammo feed for the top one was literally going through the fucking the
because
bore.
That's how that gun works on warp magic. We don't question that, but. No, I agree with you. It's like it's people that don't understand vehicle, and the British don't understand tanks or anything cool. So, they should have outsourced to me, is what I'm saying.
Maybe you could just reach out to what do you say, Games Workshops and we could have what was the guy that made the thing that shouldn't make sense? The big Space Marines. Belisarius Call, I think it is.
Yeah, he can go through and find whatever he